You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. Conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their missions through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media.
Jenny, today we've got a spotlight episode. Tim Morrow, the president and CEO of the San Antonio Zoo.
Yeah, really excited to talk to Tim today. He's going to share a lot of his experience kind of coming from the theme park space. So he spent 20 years at SeaWorld parks, and then he's now been at the San Antonio Zoo for about 10 years. And over those 10 years, he's done some really exciting things and really kind of brought the San Antonio Zoo to the become one of the top attractions, not only in San Antonio, but the state of Texas.
Yeah, like if anybody knows Tim, especially if you're in the zoo world, Tim is like a volcano of ideas. And so what are some of the big ones that we're going to highlight today?
Yeah. We're going to talk to Tim about some actionable steps that you can take to really position your nonprofit as a top attraction, as they've done in San Antonio. And then, how to constantly innovate packages to not only drive revenue, but more importantly, to really meet your guests, to give your guests the expectations that they're looking for.
Like different ticket packages.
Yeah. And all great ways to help drive revenue. And then I think lastly, just, how he's taking inspiration from the theme park space to really evolve how zoos operate and again, provide those unique experiences for guests.
All right, let's get to the interview. Jenny's super excited to bring in Tim Morrow from the San Antonio Zoo. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Man, this is a long time coming. I remember when we first met way back when. So thank you. We really appreciate the time. We gave you a little intro before we hit record here, but why don't you just take a minute, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So people ask me all the time, of course, when I talk, what do you do for a living? I usually say I work at the zoo, and they're like, what do you do? And I say CEO. They're like, wow, did you always want to do that? Did you plan to do that? And my answer is no. My career has been a complete accident. I really started off wanting to do law enforcement, which my dad had done. So I started going to school for law enforcement. At the same time, I'd moved to San Antonio. They were just opening a theme park called Fiesta, Texas. So I said, I'll go be a lifeguard there for the summer. And then the next summer, they called me back to come back and be a trainer. And I said no, ended up going back. And then a supervisor the next year said no, ended up going back. And I kept getting promoted. I got 2 degrees in criminal justice during those first 4 years I was at working at the theme parks. And then I said, okay, I'm switching to my university now for my major. I'm definitely not going to do this anymore. This is not what I want to do. And then SeaWorld called me out of the blue and said, hey, we really want you to come run our water park in some areas at SeaWorld in San Antonio. And I said, no. And so I went out there they're like, well, at least come tour and let us show you around. And so I went out there. And again, I was like, okay, well, I have nothing else to do this summer. And I ended up being there for 19 years. I worked my way up to vice president role at SeaWorld San Antonio, spent a couple years in Orlando opening Discovery Cove, which was a really great experience. And then fast forward to 2014, a headhunter reaches out to me about the zoo job, and I said no, I'm not interested. And then I came to walk the zoo one day, and I grew up at the zoo as a small child. And then as my oldest son was a child, I brought him here. So I've been to demo really 3 times. And so I was like, I could really help that place. And I think all the things I've learned working at the attractions will really help me here at San Antonio Zoo and lift our zoo, which in turn will lift our city. And I really love this zoo and this city. And so I think it's been a big win for me. And I have a great team here at the zoo. We're doing amazing things. We're writing an amazing chapter in time for our 110-year-old zoo. And this has been really exciting and fun. But people reach out, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your career path and see how I could become. I'm like, yeah, I'm not the guy to talk to you about that. This was an accident, but it was definitely meant to be.
I've got the book for you. The story of Tim Morrow, the accidental CEO. Like we can do that.
That's a great headline.
All right. So, when we talk about zoos, we talk about aquariums, sometimes the story of how do you get to the top is, well, I came through the animal side, animal care, that's so passionate about it. Your story is a little different. You're from the criminal justice side, which sure.
I tell people all the time, I'm an ops kid at heart. So I, really was working in operations at the attractions. And then probably the turning point was when I went to Orlando to help open Discovery Cove, because I really got to get involved there in the design of that park. And having to have this mindset of how are we getting guests as close as possible to animals in a safe way. It was a very interactive park, big lagoons where you swim with stingrays and fish. dolphin encounters, aviaries where birds are landing on you and you're feeding birds, and then having to weave operations through that and keep our guests safe and make that an amazing experience. So I started getting involved in kind of the design at that point and really working closely with animal care. And then from there, came back to Texas to SeaWorld San Antonio. And I had a really amazing boss named Dan Decker who kind of would put me in departments to fix them. And so I got to do almost everything at SeaWorld over my course of 19 years there. So at different times, I would have 3 or 4 areas, but those included things like running the water park, running the entrance front gate, running rides, landscape, our Anheuser-Busch Clydesdales and Hospitality House when we used to give away beer, consumer events, concerts, festivals, PR, park quality. I mean, you name it, I got to do it at SeaWorld. So I tell everybody I'm a master of nothing. I'm a total mutt, but I'm an ops kid at heart, but I am a mutt as far as the other 10 divisions of what basically takes to run a zoo or aquarium or theme park. And so I'm smart enough and aware enough to know I need to hire people smarter than me. And in my meetings, I should be the dumbest guy in the room. And that's not a high bar for me. But I have surrounded myself with really good talent that are experts in their fields. And I think that's really helped us become a successful zoo and the things that we're doing here. But I think that's part of the key is I know when I don't know, and I just ask a lot of questions and kind of move us forward that way.
Let's talk about that. So, our audience here, it's maybe the marketing manager, the social media marketing person, the marketing director, and you're kind of living at a bigger level. Like, could you maybe talk about a day in the life, which could look completely different or the same every day?
Yeah.
What should we know about the role of a CEO and specifically on what you're doing?
So mine has really morphed over time. I've been here almost 10 years now. And so I would say the first 5 or 6 years, I was pretty hands-on operationally and with the physical facility of the zoo, raising the standards of our guest experience, raising the standards of animal care, raising the standards of our habitats and the natural spaces we're creating for these animals, creating a better experience, lifting the staff up and pushing the staff forward to really grow and get better and really understand how we're a major attraction in Texas. We are one of the big, what I call the big boys, and really acting like that and knowing our role in tourism in San Antonio, in education in San Antonio, in conservation around the world, knowing all those things. As we have transitioned kind of from getting the zoo up to the standard it needed to be at and the operational level it needs to function at, my role has transitioned to more fundraiser, governmental affairs, and support of staff. And I always say, I show an upside down V with my hands all the time. People say my org structure is an upside down V and I'm at the bottom kind of supporting everybody else. But it's really transitioned. And what has helped is bringing in people that are really good at their jobs in operations, in animal care, in education, all the departments. And we had a lot that were already here before. So molding those groups together and moving them forward has allowed me now to step out of some of the day-to-day or most of the day-to-day and really focus on building and working on the business, not in the business. So fundraising, we have a big capital campaign going right now that'll be ultimately probably about a $250 million, $300 million campaign, and getting city support and county support and donors and corporations to really buy into what we're doing and help us grow this facility.
Could you talk about, maybe that transition 5, 6, 7 years ago? You talk about stepping into a role in a 100-year plus zoo. Maybe there's some kind of story or anecdote that you could share on kind of how you helped transition the zoo mentality to that, that big boy. Is there something that you're kind of most proud of, whether it's a new facility or new attitude?
Yeah, I have I definitely will write a book on this someday, probably. I have a lot of fun
CEO.
stories. Yes, I have the accidental CEO. I'm right now above my head. I'm looking at a sign that says cameras and film. I've got it over my door. So I'm walking the zoo my first couple of weeks, and this sign is on one of the gift shops across from right when you walk in the entrance. This is the first sign you see. So my question was to the team, like, when is the last time we sold cameras here? And they were like, probably 10, 15 years ago. And at the time I was with one of my brand new VPs, I had created a guest experience department. She was about 28 years old probably. And they were talking about, it says cameras and film. She's like, I've never even put film in a camera. Like, I don't even know what that means. And so it's been my kind of reminder to always see things through a fresh eye and have the staff see things through a fresh eye. And I also have it over my door because when I was with SeaWorld, Mr. Bush, one of his big things was never forget to look up. People always don't look up. And so you'll look up and see cobwebs or dirt and those things. So that's kind of a reminder every day of, never stop seeing things and always look up. But probably what I'm most proud of is within the first year, I started hearing comments out in the community like, wow, I'm seeing changes at the zoo. I'm really liking the physical changes. We're adding color. We're adding this. We're adding the landscape looks incredible. Habitat upgrades are starting to happen. But even more impressive, probably year 2 on, and what I hear today, probably 90+% of the time, is the passion, the engagement of the staff, and the knowledge of our staff, and the willingness for them to want to help guests and engage with guests. And that has been the core of what has made us successful, is really having this culture of, we treat our employees like family. We call ourselves a zoo crew, or we call ourselves family every day, and we treat our employees, we put that before the guest. We're going to treat the employees like family, and the concept is, in turn, they are going to treat the guests like we treat them, and that has worked for us. It was a lesson I learned from my old mentor I mentioned, Dan Decker, back at SeaWorld, San Antonio, but it's really worked for us. And I tell people, we'll do behind-the-scenes tour. We're going to take someone to pet a rhino or feed a hippo or meet no copy, and I said, they're going to leave talking about you, the human being that took them back there and shared their knowledge and passion about that animal. And it's almost 100% of the time, that's the comments we get. So for me, the biggest win has been the culture change. And that's really helped us drive forward, because people are really buying into what we're doing here at the zoo, the employees. One of the things we did was divided our departments into, we're a mission-based organization. So we have mission delivering departments of education, conservation, and animal care. Everyone else kind of wonders what their role is in that at a nonprofit, I think. How am I helping if I'm in finance? How am I helping the mission if I'm in food service or merchandise? We've kind of branded those the mission enabling departments. So they understand what you do is enabling those 3 departments to literally, physically, and literally carry out our mission. So it's helped align everybody with understanding their role in the nonprofit. But we are very much a family at San Antonio Zoo and take care of each other. We are very proud we made it through COVID with not one layoff. Everybody sacrificed hours and pay, and we were able to surprise everybody and pay them back all that money that they'd given up in the spring of 21. And so we've had some great moments at Zoo, and I think the loyalty is two-way here. They understand leadership is here to support them, and then we understand that how hard our staff works and how dedicated and passionate they are about what they do, literally fighting to save the world on a daily basis.
A lot going on there, and I think that's solid gold here. I'm going to dig into the mission enabling departments. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Is it everybody as the employee is kind of on team A or team B? Help me out there.
Yeah, really, it's one team. But if I'm a brand new employee and I'm working at a ticket booth selling tickets, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I know the zoo does all this, conservation work and education. We have a school, and we do all this care for animals, but I'm just selling tickets. I don't have anything to do with the mission, but they do, because first of all, they're the front line talking to the guest, and the guest will ask about conservation and things going on at the zoo. And then by selling the tickets or whatever they're doing, that those dollars are coming in to help support the funding of the mission. So what I talk to people about is a new modern zoo, accredited zoo. The zoo visit's just one little part of who we are. It's the iceberg underwater image you all know. So that top of the iceberg you see out of the water is our zoo visit. And it's really funding and enabling everything under the water, which is those mission delivering departments. So we joke here, we should have a t-shirt that says, I had no idea, because when we take people on tours of our school or our conservation department and our conservation labs and our behind the scenes where we're doing endangered species work or just the care we give animals here in general, they literally are like, I had no idea. I have only known the zoo as a guest coming to see animals and learn about animals. I had no idea all those things were happening. So that's true for our employees. A new employee at the zoo too is like, I had no idea the zoo did all these things. I just came to work here because I thought it would be fun. It just happens to be we're a nonprofit with a great mission, and how do I fit into that role? So that's what we've really tried to define for them, so they understand and buy in and speak to our mission and our vision to guests or whoever in the community that ask them about working at San Antonio Zoo, because you definitely get asked those questions when you say you work at the zoo.
All right. I had no idea. That's a good working title for the book as well.
Yes.
That one might work.
Two.
Yeah. You already got the shirt, right?
Yeah.
You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. Conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their mission through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media. Attend Media is a media planning and buying agency specializing in zoos, aquariums, gardens, and museums. For more information, please visit attend.media. Now, back to Ryan and Jenny.
All right, so let's talk about that. So your background in the for-profit attraction world, I like what you said. The the visit, the ticket revenue, that is funding the under the water, the big part of the iceberg. What are some things that maybe you could share with the rest of the zoo or nonprofit attraction world? Everybody wants to sell more tickets, right? But how do you kind of prioritize that? How do you like share that idea to say this feeds the mission? Is there some type of tactical things that has worked for you?
Yeah, the nice thing is coming from that for-profit side, I really had a good understanding of not just tickets, but products and packages and and coming from the operations side, here's what the guests want and they're asking for inside the facility. And of course, they want ease of purchase. They want convenience. They want a seamless exhibit, seamless visit, and those kind of things. And so I think helping that create those packages, which a lot of nonprofits don't live in that world. Like you'll see a lot of museums or smaller attractions, they just sell a ticket. That's all they sell. Well, we're working with our vendors of our register systems and our point of sales and our websites. Hey, we want upgrades available because the guest wants to have all this before they get here. They don't want to buy a ticket and then have to come to the zoo and get in another line to buy the behind the scenes experiences and all that thing and waste their time that they've paid for now at the zoo to really get into their day and do those experiences. So I think having a good understanding of what your guest expects or what they're looking for, and part of that is be a consumer yourself. We have a pretty robust zoo duty manager program here where all of our managers, directors, and vice presidents act as a duty manager for the day. And part of that is being a guest. You go stand in line in the restaurant. How long did it take? What did you order? Was it easy? What places were open? What were the pain points? And so we kind of look at through the zoo through an eyes of a consumer as well, which I think is really helpful. But bringing that mentality of, we are a nonprofit, we are a 501c3. We say that's our tax status. Our business model is for profit. And so that's been another thing for the staff to learn is, hey, the more we make revenue wise, the more we get to put right back into the mission and upgrading the facility and increasing and fixing pay rates that have been traditionally low in the past. So it's been feeding and they've seen the buy-in. There was some nervousness those first couple of years. And I remember bringing in zoo lights in 2015, less than 12 months after I started, we started zoo lights. We expanded our Zoo Boo event from 2 nights to 6 weeks straight. And one of the comments I heard was like, this used to be our like downtime, slow time. And I said, well, we don't really have that anymore, especially in a city. We live in a city in San Antonio, one of the few cities in the country with 2 major theme parks. We have a SeaWorld and a Six Flags, not to mention the Alamo, the Riverwalk, Natural Bridge Caverns, UNESCO World Heritage Sites with missions, a blossoming food scene. So there's a lot of competition for time here. So we have to kind of be in that mode. It took a little bit of ramping up for people to understand that, but they've seen the benefits of what that has brought to the zoo, to their own personal lives, and to the facility and the reputation of the facility. And that's been key. But I think really key is understanding consumer want and needs and be a consumer yourself. Get out and go visit other locations and other places and steal and best practice ideas. One thing I can't say enough about the zoo world and the zoo community is how open we are with each other on new ideas, on concepts, on designs of habitats. I mean, I could take our gorilla drawings to any zoo in the country, and we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and they will shoot holes in it. I wouldn't do this. Here's what we would do better next time. So very collaborative. We're not necessarily competition, maybe a little bit in some regions where you may have some regional closeness. Texas is pretty spread out, but overall, being mission-based organizations, it's a very open community versus the theme parks where everything is very secretive and everyone wants to be the first and the biggest and whatever category they're trying to own. It's a very different world, which is very refreshing to be in this collaborative environment.
So we talked about upgrading the ticket experience. You're having upgraded ticket packages. I love the idea of having your employees be that guest, because like talk about getting just kind of on the boots. This could be better. This could be better. But and then you also talk about adding events. And I'm assuming is that just out of curiosity, is that more of like a premium event ticket, a separate ticket, or is it?
These are actually events included with your zoo ticket or membership, which we leverage to sell memberships and tickets. So we actually started our holiday program off as an after-hour separate ticketed event, as was our Zubu. And we strategically moved towards getting our pricing for memberships and ticketing to the right level, and then included that. So it became a bigger benefit to the guest. Like, oh, well, I have my membership. It went up $5 this year, but I also get 6 weeks of Zoo Lights and 6 weeks of Zoo. I can go as much as I want. So we have strategically layered events over almost the entire year. Probably 90% of our operating days have some sort of event happening. And if you think about the zoo you grew up in as a small child, it was kind of the same experience. You went every time. Like, you knew what animals you wanted to go see. Everything was the same every day. It didn't have repeatability. For a kid, it did, but maybe not for the parents. And so coming from the theme park or attraction world, where we are doing a lot of events, a lot of capital coming every year, we've kind of brought that mentality here. So probably 90% of our days are overlaid with an event. So this summer, for example, we have dinosaurs. For 6 weeks of spring, we had Ice Age animals. For spring break, we do something with live music. And then we have go into Zoo Boo and Zoo Lights. And then we have an official Fiesta event, which Fiesta is our Mardi Gras in San Antonio. A clean family version of Mardi Gras in San Antonio. And so there's a lot of events happening. And we do have some after hours kind of fundraising events that are separate and not necessarily even the demo or the market. We wouldn't even market this to the zoo population. This is more fundraising galas and those kind of things. But most of our events are included with admission and membership. And we really use that to drive sales of those memberships and tickets. And we've been really focused on adding benefit to memberships. We have 3 levels of memberships now with varying degrees of benefits. Like free carousel ride is one of our benefits on our highest level. And it's the one reason everybody buys that membership. We also have monthly memberships now. So you pay a monthly fee, and that's kind of a subscription fee. It's set it and forget it concept of like they're just going to keep rolling until they cancel and those kind of things. So we watch what our competition is doing. And for us, really, we're watching theme parks because we know they are more advanced in ticketing and processes and bundling and those kind of things. And we've taken that back to other zoos now and be like, look, this has been really successful for us. You should try this if you can. Your system will do it and those kind of things. But this is what has made us a lot of money and the guests are really excited about.
I'm going to get into the weeds here. What ticketing system are you guys using?
We currently have, what is our ticketing system now? We just changed. So it is, it's going to come to me in a few minutes. It'll come to me. I'll keep talking, but it will come to me. But we have changed, but that's a good example. I've been here 9.5 years now. We have changed 3 times.
Wow.
So we have gone up, and I look at the levels we were before, we had one system that was doing front gate, merchandise and food. Did food and merch okay, not so much on the front gate. Then we went up another level. And the other thing that zoos have to do is we have to tie in this nonprofit software too that's tracking donors, and we can run lists and these things. We're tracking all this. So they all have to tie together. So a little bit different beast than, I didn't realize how good I had it at the theme parks who were doing their own software. I had an IT department. Hey, we want the front gate to be able to do this, and they'd make it,
Yeah, that's
30 days.
That's not fair. No.
So we have, we're just started our third new system, probably in the last year, and it will come to me and I'll have the name before we're done talking. But we're already like, okay, are we already starting to outpace and outgrow what this one's doing and what would be next? But we're looking at, okay, this was a former Six Flags system, operating system and those kind of things. So they understand what we're saying, because our original systems were a little bit of what I would call maybe some museum mentality of just, we want to keep it very simple, sell a ticket and be functional. And we're pretty aggressive on, hey, we want packages, we want upsells at the end, we want everyone to be able to spend as much as they want to before they get here, because we also know spending is going to increase when they get here if they've already spent that money all up front. They're not having to do it when they arrive at the front entrance. So that's been a big part of our growing these systems and be able to track. We're looking at using Vanguard now with the RFID system, so people can tap and pay, put accounts for their kids with a budget on there, and then that would be your entry into the zoo. We've gone to digital memberships now, so if you pull up to the zoo, your membership pops up on your phone. So we've pushed way past where we were 10 years ago, but we still have a lot of room to grow, and we're really excited about. We really are often probably the nonprofit pushing these developers, and sometimes telling them like, no, I promise you, everybody is going to want this if you have it. They just don't know that they want it yet. And so that's been a big part of what we've been doing.
Tim, you seem to be on the forefront of this, because some of these ideas you're talking about, we don't hear a ton from different zoos. Working with museums, they're definitely not in this type of attitude. What would be your advice, like how an organization who's listening to this saying, okay, this is really cool, I can see how this can increase revenue without having to make a big capital expenditure or bring in 10 different new animals.
Yeah.
Where's a good place for an organization to get started?
I know at our association meetings, there's a lot of great speaking and listening opportunities in the sessions that they do. I think I'm doing 2 on revenue generating this year.
All right, guys, we'll see you in Calgary.
Yeah,
see Tim.
That's right. Make sure you have your passport.
Yes.
I'm wondering how many people are not going to be passport ready when they realize it's in Canada. So we'll see.
I checked mine like 4 months ago. I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yes,
we're good.
I had to renew mine this year
There you
for
go.
some trips. But I also think that sometimes maybe smaller facilities don't think that they can do what the big facilities do, maybe because they think, oh, we don't have the money they have. And this, but there's lots of little things we've done that were basically no cost that have generated us a ton of money. I also think it's a big deal for the bigger zoos like us to learn from the smaller zoos who are still doing it efficiently and on a tighter budget and really working to find unique ways to get things done. So I think it's a two-way street that the big zoos should also be learning from the little guys, and the little guys need to be learning from the big guys. But one thing I mentioned about this world is the collaboration is very nice. And so last year I spoke on fundraising for the zoo. This year I think I'm doing how the CEO fundraises. I didn't even know I was doing that session until about a week ago. And then a revenue generating idea is one. And a lot of it is having the right partners in. We've done a little thing like we have where we sell. We have all these experiences like a flamingo feed or a lorikeet feed or a giraffe feed and carousel. Okay, what do guests want? They want one-stop shop. They don't want to go buy at 6 different locations. So we've launched a Fun Pass now. There's 3 different levels of Fun Pass that include 5, 7, or 10 experiences that you could do, and you can do it all year. It doesn't expire. And so that we're really pushing Fun Pass now. And then the next concept is, or the conversation is, everywhere we sell one of these tickets, we need to be selling and pushing the Fun Pass for ease for the guest. And also it locks that guest in to do 5, 7, 10 things. And so just trying to make it easy for the guest. But that's an example of something any zoo that has a couple of experiences can do. You're going to increase your sales and revenue because they're buying a package from you instead of one experience. It's a better deal for the guest and it's a win for the zoo. And so those kind of things, I think those little conversations need to be happening because we all need to be helping each other lift all boats.
I love it. And I'm only going to ask this out of a tradition, but I think you've given like 14 examples already. But in terms of marketing, ticket sales, revenue generation, what do you think nonprofit attractions should be doing more of? Like I said, I'm laughing as I'm asking the question because you've hit on a few of them. You got any other nuggets you can share with us?
Yeah, so I mean, we just left a movie with someone that's doing the Animal Film Festival that wants to get involved with us, a meeting and talk about how we can do this integration with the movie film festival that comes to San Antonio in November about animals. But my comment to them was like, we have so much to say. It's our biggest challenge. There's so much content coming out of the zoo with conservation wins, the animal burst, the great things that are happening at the zoo, promoting the zoo, but we try not to use our social channels to over promote the zoo. So be more strategic, online in the way we're targeting ads and targeting ticket sales and those kind of things. But I think storytelling, especially for zoos, and I say it all the time, we have the greatest content ever, animals and kids. I mean, we have unlimited content and great stories to tell. So I think storytelling, also probably my biggest lesson coming out of SeaWorld and what SeaWorld went through my last couple of years with not responding to fake movies and fake news and those kind of things, that you really have to be telling your story all the time. Don't wait till there's a crisis to start trying to tell your story. And then, like I said, we try to make it fun here. So we know people come to visit the zoo because it's fun. They probably come to work here because it's fun. So at our core, let's keep it fun, keep it light. We are a very serious scientific-based organization focused on all these things, but it's also fun. And so that is top of mind. And then for nonprofits, it's to be asking. And our zoo had kind of fallen behind on asking and disconnected from donors. And there was kind of this philosophy of, we'll do a capital campaign every 10 years or so, and then we'll leave the donors alone for a while. And when I got here, started meeting with donors, like, we haven't heard from the zoo in 10 years. Like, so we give our money to other places now. They're still going to give away money every year and donate money. But if you're not there telling your story and talking to them and asking for them to support your story, then they're just going to give it to somebody else. And so I think asking for help as a nonprofit to either grow or improve and those things, I think is key. And a lot of people don't ask. They kind of just say, we take donations, we're 513. But it's that we have found through our social campaigns and our online campaigns and our email campaigns that having specific asks out help get those goals reached, and celebrating the reaches when you get there and those kind of things. And so you've got to be targeted and focused and have a plan for social and for marketing and for asking for money.
Tim Morrow, President and CEO of the San Antonio Zoo, thank you very much.
No, thank you guys for the time. It's been a blast.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. If you have a suggestion for a topic or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at marketingattractionspodcast.com.